All right, we're back.
Back.
Another episode of Co-CEO. Plenty going on in this world, in our world, in the past couple of weeks since we've done this. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Actually, I don't know if you know, but we uploaded the last full 1 hour episode, and a number of people referred to the hidden keyword, which was gold bull. And they commented it in the comments. So that's how I know you watched all the way to the end. We appreciate it. As you can see, we are elevating the production value. We got a little bit of a couch. We're kind of set up. We have the lighting. You're going to hear much better audio if D-Rob and Nick get it right. And yeah, let's get into it. In this show, this is pretty much unstructured, just kind of conversations between two co-CEOs running a VC-backed company that closed a few $1 million seed round, but have ambitions to, I tweeted today, I'm not going for an acquisition price, I'm going for a listing price. So we have fully intend to take this company public. Loop will go public, but luck and timing play a part, do they not?
Yeah, actually we were on the phone with an investor earlier today who cited luck, because when you have all the things that we have going in terms of having a kick-ass founder team, having the staff fully staffed up, having the product near ready to approval, really the only wild card left is luck, which is a little scary, but it's also just true. I mean, anybody who tells you that luck isn't involved is naive or dumb.
I almost wish luck didn't exist, because then, like, if you have everything in your favor, then things should pan out in the way that you expect. But luck does exist. Sometimes there's macro conditions that play a huge part, like COVID or capital markets dry up or the housing bubble or war or whatever. And sometimes it's luck in the micro, like you catch the right person at the right time that wants to take a bet and puts up a big check and really gets things going for you. Okay, so what's been going on in your world? What are you thinking about and so on?
Yeah, what's been going on in our world?
Your world specifically.
Oh, my world specifically?
Yeah.
Well, our team on mission control, which is what we call our like data science engineering sort of, the people that sit behind the many panels of the computer and pray to God that the spaceship gets from Earth to outer orbits, is currently working on ingesting our first telematics data. So this week we got our app up and running. We got you driving around all of Texas. We have Ali, our CTO, running around New York to test whether it'll pick up people who are running, not just driving. And we're getting our first look at what telematics data looks like in real time being ingested. And telematics data is just the location information that we collect from our customers. And now what we're doing with it is really trying to develop an experience that our customers will enjoy. So it's figuring out what they like to get in a weekly digest, what sort of information actually is interesting, valuable, useful, keeps them more safe on the road, hopefully. And it's cool. It's cool to see like how we can start to learn a little bit more about people and build a product that better suits like what exactly they need. And one of the things we talked about specifically doing today was looking at who takes to the road early, who's our early risers, who's our, like me, doesn't wake up until 9, doesn't get to the road maybe even in the afternoon, right? And just thinking about how we can delight people who get up with the sun differently than those who don't. So it's just like starting to see different trends in that data, and it's exciting. Like we marked it June 10th. We said today is the day that we take our first step towards actually meaningfully reducing the number of car crashes that happen on the road and the number of people.
Okay, so let me just take a step back, because I think this stuff sounds like very foreign to a lot of people, because I think people don't know what telematics data is unless you're in the industry. And then when you say location data, it also doesn't make much sense. But just to boil it down simply, many of you guys know that Loop is bypassing traditional ways of underwriting, which the legacy models rely very heavily on, a lot of your demographic information, like how much you make and where you went to school and so on. But you can't just remove those factors and replace them with nothing. In our case, we get to use the mobile phone, and when you download our mobile application, as you move through time and space, this is feeding data back to our systems, which, by the way, is remarkable that can even happen.
Sure.
Like you have something in your pocket and it communicates data to Google Maps and helps you navigate, it communicates data to Uber so they can come pick you up. And also it will communicate data to Loop
Hmm.
about how you're driving. And our technology effectively interprets when you're speeding, when you're hard braking, and so on. We're banking on the simple reality that most people are decent drivers
Hmm.
and that you should be rated based solely on your driving, largely on your driving and the world of risk around you. I think one question that I've had, and try to explain it in um, common sense terms, is people uh, help people understand, like, I guess, so we're getting this location data and we're seeing if you're speeding, hard braking, whatever. But other companies also do this.
Sure.
So how is it that, we're talking a big game about being differentiated. So how actually are we differentiated between the industry standard and what we do?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, you have a phone app. Many phone apps collect similar information of what we're collecting. You mentioned a few. You can add dating apps to that. You can add
Right.
Instagram, and tag a photo. Where did that photo happen to that? So it's not novel that companies are collecting this type of information and asking consumers, can you please give us permission to your location? Um, what they do with it is another question, right? So some companies will keep and store that information and use it to develop new products. So, as to say, how are our users using our application? How are folks actually experiencing the world? And use that to the benefit of consumers. And I think that's what's Loop's goal here is to take that data about where people drive and use that to understand, are you a driver that's driving on really unsafe roads? Are you a driver that's speeding on those unsafe roads? Are you a driver that's making your community less safe? And are there ways that we can coach you and advise you so that you can take tangible steps to improve the safety of where you live and where you drive? And I think that's a really valuable thing for consumers that they haven't been able to access before. Normally, a car insurer is just coming in after a crash happens and saying, hey, like, how much is it going to cost? Like, we'll foot the bill. Like, begrudgingly, they end up paying for your claim. But at Loop, what we're thinking is that if folks have the information they need to safely navigate, we can prevent the car crash from happening. We can prevent all of that pain and suffering and annoyance from happening, have fewer people have car crashes. And wouldn't that be great for our business and for society?
Every time I hear it, it makes a ton of sense. It's like, why have an entire business model built around the only remedying the byproduct when we have the opportunity to be preventative?
Right.
Right. And now, what do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Sure, right? It's like our country has gotten to a place where they'll prescribe medicine instead of exercise. What we're saying is do a little bit of work, put in a little bit of effort to drive more safely, and that's going to keep everybody
So I disagree on
better off.
we don't I don't feel like our product is going to tell people to put in effort into driving safely. I feel like what we're simply doing is mirroring back the data
Sure.
and raising their awareness level around how they're driving and which roads around them are more safe or more dangerous. And at the very least, we on our back end will be able to more dynamically monitor which risks are risky.
Mm-hmm.
But at a base case, people with a raised awareness level around where is dangerous steer away from dangerous areas.
Sure, and that's a great correction because I think what it does is put control back in the hands of the consumer to make their own decisions. Some are going to like go to the gym and exercise like crazy and avoid unsafe roads at all costs, and some folks are just going to drive with the awareness of, hey, this is a place that I should slow down or not speed. You make all different types of decisions, but I think giving the consumer that information gives them a choice and a chance to actually participate.
Got it.
But I'm really intrigued to think ahead of like actually one of the things we were thinking about on this call was how are we going to deliver that information to consumers in a weekly email digest or other like means? How do we actually tell folks in a meaningful and helpful way and communicate this information?
So what started this in the first place? So you built a dashboard with your team that effectively takes that data and visualizes it, and it's like our own in-house. Like we get to see when people speed, it's like it's almost like playing The Sims. Like we get to see all that data.
Yeah, it's like a Sims, Grand Theft Auto, and like Pokemon Go together
Mm.
into a really cool app, right? Because, yeah, go ahead.
So what would we do with that? I'm not asking to facilitate. I'm asking out of curiosity now. Like, what could we do with that data beyond telling people, "Hey, this is safe and this is dangerous"?
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas, but I think that there are many answers that we don't yet know that some will be exceptionally powerful. So I'm excited to like actually have that dialogue with consumers when we start to share information back, hear what resonates most and see what works best. But um in addition to just like gamifying the experience of safe driving, we can reward or otherwise incentivize, much like Pokemon Go, right? Like use it as an opportunity to be in the community, point out places where our drivers could go, destinations that would be interesting to that type of driver. Um, so that could be support, a local business. That could be support a cause that's doing a fundraiser here on this date and time, right? Start to connect consumers with the places where they could be to be living, more fully the way that they want to live. So if it's like, hey, you have a high school student, hey, the high school's doing a fundraiser at this location, check it out. Like Loop is helping you get there safely. That's one thing I've thought about. Have you thought about other things?
Um, um, yeah, I think one thing that comes up often is people want to, and I don't want to get so in the weeds on like our products. I don't think this is why people watch, but um, I think I've heard it from a number of calls. We've been doing these waitlist calls with our waitlist and just speaking on the phone with our actual community.
Mm-hmm.
And people often say, "Hey, I think that repairs to your car should be included, or like should be at least one should be covered. We should cover an oil change. We should cover one flat tire. I had a flat tire
Mm-hmm.
a couple weeks ago. It cost me $400. That tire was expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and like, yeah, my insurance company should cover that. I feel like to get me back on the road. Like that's, I guess they only cover accidents, but can we expand the horizon of what we cover for our customers, even if it's gonna come at, you know, at at the expense of short-term profits?
Mm-hmm.
From a business perspective, um, I've always believed that doing the thing this is gonna sound ridiculous, but doing the actions that are unprofitable in the short term,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, unless it's spending wildly, but if they're focused on the consumer, it allows you to build truly deep affinity that you can't buy
Mm.
down the stretch. So, you know,
Yeah, I think we also do that in the way we've structured the product. So, adding a discount for hybrid or electric vehicles is one way that we can delight folks who make good choices in line with our values that the planet is worth saving, and reward them for, making society better. So, there are ways, in addition to an oil change or fixing a tire, that I think we can make our product less expensive, provide discounts, make it cheaper for people who make good choices that like getting a hybrid or an electric vehicle.
yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Well, that sounds great. I'm excited to see where that goes, and keep us posted on my side. Um, yeah, we're just super focused on. Uh, well, we launched a referral program. In fact,
Mm.
we created and launched a referral program, I think, since we last did this. Um, and the whole thing is, I mean, it's your classic referral program. We assign our waitlist a unique referral link. You're able to share that unique referral link with your friends and family. And if they sign up using their unique referral link, you're attributed with a credit, and then credits go towards rewards. And you can get everything from FaceTime with us if you hit 25 referrals, which a few people have done.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Kudos to you guys. Thank you.
Someone specifically said on there, I'm going for that one-on-one with JH, 25 referrals.
Wow.
You can win something light like t-shirt and swag. You can win access to invest in Loop. So if you're interested in investing in Loop, you make 10 referrals that are validated. And all they have to do is join the waitlist. They don't have to quote. They don't have to buy. They just have to join the waitlist. So you can get VIP access to LoopCon. You can get access to NFTs. And also, the question for this week's episode will be, do you have an idea for something that you would like to win from our referral program? Please pop them in the comments below. This is just V1. I really want to make the referral program like super, super insane.
Yeah.
Like, I think that now that we have our V1 up and out and we've hit over 100 referrals in the first week of the program being live. So it's really working. And by the way, for those of you guys watching, because most of you who watch because you like that business practitioner shit. Think about it. We're spending money on Facebook ads and stuff to acquire customers and leads. So for every referral, we're effectively replacing the cost of buying that lead through Facebook. Now, we still incur costs because we have to send you t-shirts and sweaters and whatever you win. However, it's at a fraction of the cost, and it's a higher quality lead because it's being referred to, that person is being referred by a friend. So we're effectively have created a way to engineer word of mouth, which is the most powerful driver of qualified traffic. So that's what we've been doing. That is shipped. It's out. We also have started running our marketing team in sprints. So instead of having weekly meetings, we have 2-week sprints where we agree on finite tasks at the beginning, and we just fucking plow through daily meetings, 15-minute daily meetings where we all just run through what we did yesterday, today, and what's blocking us. And that adds tremendous energy to our efforts because we're sprinting towards getting something done. And right now, what we are sprinting on, a number of items at once, 4 or 5. We're getting our SEO up and going. We are doing a tour all around Texas. We're taking over San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, Austin,
and everywhere in between.
And
every Buc-ee's gas station in between.
But in addition, we are sprinting on we're launching our new brand. Dun, 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 dun.
How will it be unveiled? I've seen it, but I'm ready for our audience to see it.
I'm excited about it. I'm also excited about I'm curious to see how it's going to be received because it is fresh and it's interesting and it's not what you might expect from an insurance company.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different and I like it. And it took us some time working with our brand agency to get it to a place, and we dialed in everything from color palette was carefully considered.
Let's go deep there. Like, I think there was a lot of learning, if I may, in working with a branding agency. And
that's a good topic.
I would love for you to break down because it's an occasion where I have seen your judgment be good judgment, and like you have led the direction of that. So I really feel like it's something that you could break down.
Well, so a few things. So when you see this, there are a lot of things that I didn't know that I learned through going through the process. And that is, I've always been a junkie for typography, for font. But this process elevated my appreciation for typography. So when you see the new brand, just know that the typography was carefully considered, that the color palette carefully considered, and probably there were like 7 versions of completely different color palettes before we agreed. Mm-hmm. In fact, we even have vlogs from Mendy of like, yo, this color, that color. Like, there are motifs that are deployed throughout the brand that we can effectively use and reuse. There's a logo, there's the icon, all basic branding elements, but we wanted to strike the balance of being trustworthy in the insurance space, but also being representative of who we are, which are like, we're young, we're colorful, and so on. So I'm excited about it. And we're also unveiling our new domain. I mean,
Overhaul.
it's a true overhaul. And this brand should be with us at least up until we raise $100 million in a single round, which will be probably in 3 years.
Yeah, I know one of our ambitions is to get folks wearing Loop swag too. I think that was super important to us that they could rep the brand and say like this is a brand that my values align with. This is something that I can get behind. So I know you put a lot of thought into the swag. Can you like I don't want to blow it, but like how much effort and like thoughtfulness did you put into the swag?
Not much. I know.
I think you did.
Well, it's not super cool yet. It's just the V1. At the end of the day, we did put there was a lot of back and forth on the swag, but only because agency wasn't nailing it like we wanted. And so we ended up getting a V1 out there so that we have swag. So for people on the referral program, and don't get me wrong, it's fucking luxe and it's incredible quality.
Well, that's what I was talking about is like just the attention to swag is that like we reviewed a bunch of designs. We didn't really vibe with them. Frankly, like I wouldn't wear them out. So we redesigned them intentionally because we wanted to be able to wear them. And then I think you went to the actual factory and like touched the fabric and made sure it would be something that would feel good on people, that they would want to wear it. I mean, I think that alone is an intention that a lot of companies don't put into.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Maybe I just kind of expect that as cost of entry. But yeah, I went out there, I touched that shit, I sweated in it, I slept in it, I ran around in it. And the swag is going to feel super luxe, 100% cotton. I considered the tri-blend, 50% cotton, 30% rayon, and then the other polyester and so on. But point is, the swag is just V1. I think it just has a logo on it and whatever. From here on out, the swag is going to have powerful sayings that represent our mission and values, things like powered by people and different sayings like that. And that's what I think is going to be what really travels. But cool. Heard. And yeah, I guess just quickly on the brand agency thing, I'll just say this. You can outsource execution, but you can't outsource your vision. That's the key learning in a nutshell. The key learning in a nutshell from dealing with brand agencies is you can outsource the execution, but you can't outsource your vision for the brand. And whenever you see a deviation from the vision, you're best served letting them know quickly, early, and often. Because I saw some deviations from what we envisioned for ourselves and gave them the room to gallop because I didn't want to micromanage. And then the product started shifting away from what we wanted it to be. And so I think my learning to myself would be, hey, next time you work with an agency, B, I know the parameters, I know the assets that we need, and I know the icons and so on. But C, trust your judgment as the founder that what you want for your brand is what you want for your brand.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely.
Yeah, I think that's the lesson there. So, well, we're going to dinner in an hour. Why is that?
One, to eat, but two, we're meeting up with our broker who helped coordinate many players, but predominantly our reinsurance agent and our fronting carrier, which for those that are not as in the weeds into insurance as we are, these are the folks that give us the capacity to write policies and are in place in case there's a loss. Because as a startup company, we may have raised a couple $1 million, but if a claim occurs, we want to be able to pay out that claim in a timely and convenient manner for people. And so we were very fortunate and went through a very rigorous diligence process to be able to call some of the best, of the business, our partners in this space. And so we're going to dinner tonight to celebrate in some ways our ability and our execution in bringing together those great partners, but also to build a relationship with a broker, because I found working with a broker actually a really helpful way of understanding the nuance of the negotiation and the behind the scenes sort of, not the numbers and how they play out, but the dance of negotiation. And I know you've really enjoyed that process as well.
Yeah, I mean, said another way, we closed the fucking deal. Like we closed our deal. It's a big deal. It is an mid-size 8-figure
Yeah, we
contract.
essentially raised a Series A right after raising a seed, or the size of a Series A round in
Yeah,
capital.
it's a risk capital deal, so it's not cash in the bank, but it, as you said, allows us to backstop our claims, and it is not a small number.
No.
And it is a multi-year deal, and it is with, we can't wait to announce it. It's another thing we have ready to announce. It is with one of the world's top 1% of reinsurers in the world. It is the signal for institutional excellence in our business, and they are reinsuring Loop. So when you sign up for service with Loop, you will be backed by Loop, your claims paid by Loop, but just know that Loop is backed by the best in the business. That's the level of excellence that we are. And yeah, we closed the deal last week, and so our reinsurance broker is taking us out to dinner. So you best believe we're going to run that tab up.
We're going to have some wine, for sure.
We're going to have some wine, we're going to have some cocktails, we're going to have some laughs. But you brought up a really good point that sometimes brokers get a bad rap for being not helpful. And I would agree that 95% of brokers are not helpful. But I think 95% of everything sucks. And I think the only reason you put up with 95% of everything in any industry is for the 5% that's really excellent. So that applies in venture. 95% of deals don't generate returns, 5% do. 95% of videographers and camera folks are okay, 5% are brilliant.
It also applies to data. 95% of your work is spent cleaning up god-awful, dirty data, right? 5% is the fun part.
Is the brilliance. And in this case, 95% of brokers are not worth anything, and 5% of them are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think as complete newcomers, we didn't know a lot of the stuff that we were walking into in terms of negotiating the deal.
Right. And in any negotiation, there's nuance. There's relationships that exist in the room that you're walking into cold, that folks may have worked together previously. They may have been on deals that went sideways together previously. That happened. They may have a competitive nature with one another. You don't know who competes. I think we have a relatively good handle on that in the VC world, just from your experience working with Harlem Capital. But in reinsurance negotiations, we were naive, probably at best, but we're able to navigate successfully in a very, that's just testament to how quickly we learn, which is we learn probably the fastest of any humans I've ever met, right? Like, we launched an insurance company in less than a year, so I'll give us that, accolade. Right, but you do have to learn really, really fast and on the fly. That's something you're exceptional at, is just like pivoting in the moment to be like, right, so we understood that from the beginning. So now that we know that to be true, what about, and continue to, it's not fake it till you make it. It's learn as fast as you possibly can and use as much information as you have to your advantage as fast as possible.
I'm glad you differentiated that and fake it till you make it, because I don't think fake it till you make it works.
No, and it's especially disastrous advice for women, because it builds like a sense of insecurity, like you're not actually good enough.
Yeah, and also it works, but for so long. It's not better. I'd rather you just it's just faking
learn.
it till you make it is rooted in all kinds of problems that I think, and it's a common saying that a lot of people, including myself early on, internalized. And you don't got to fake anything. You just got to be you now.
Yeah. Although I will say, how do you feel in conversations where you're not the expert, or you might not have as much of a grasp on the subject matter, and your co-founder and co-CEO does? What has that been like for you as an experience?
Yeah, it's a great question. So many a times when I'm in a Zoom meeting or whatever with your team, I am by far and away the least knowledgeable person on the subject matter. And I've struggled with the fact that, I've had to learn the terminology. I've had to learn your culture. I've had to learn a lot of things. And I think that the key thing that I've learned is that, technical issue.
All all
We'll
the
just keep
way
rolling.
over.
Do not edit that out. Don't edit
And
it
you
out.
trip the wire.
So yeah, we're good. We're back. So the thing that I've learned is I've learned to trust my questions. It doesn't matter to me if I don't know the terms, if I don't know the language, if I don't know the norms. I still trust my questions because my questions is what helps me get to the root of what I think is important. And that's the way that I've navigated learning in insurance and also learning to deal with technical teams.
I also think you pull from what you know and try to draw analogies. So I've heard you in multiple occasions say, this is how it works in real estate. I don't know how it works in insurance or finance, but does it work similarly to this example?
Do you think that's helpful or hurtful?
I actually think it's really helpful in these conversations because it demonstrates that you have the critical thinking to understand how systems operate. You understand how to negotiate a deal. You understand the general premise of how levers can be pulled up or pushed down. And it gives people a helpful reference around which to draw an analogy. An analogy is always a good idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can pull from an expertise that isn't necessarily or particularly relevant to the conversation and use it as an effective analogy to help others communicate the right answer back to you. Because part of the problem with asking good questions is that, at least I've experienced this as a woman, if I ask good questions, they may be well-informed and thoughtful and good questions, but they can be received as if you're an amateur, right? And then that sets you back because then you're receiving a response that is almost assuming that you're incredibly naive or incompetent on a subject, when in reality, if you had provided an analogy so that people could understand where you're at, they would meet you where you're at and provide you the information you needed to move forward. I've seen it be an incredibly effective tool that you've deployed more successfully than I have, maybe because I don't have real estate or financial experience that is analogous to pull from.
Yeah, but also you were more familiar with insurance, so you definitely had and still have a higher higher level of understanding of the context of this business, but also your technical acumen is a great advantage in this business because you've been able to transpose your data expertise over into the world of actuarial sciences.
I love that you use transpose.
Yeah, transpose.
It's a great data term.
Yeah, it's also a music term, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, you can take a certain song that's in a key and you can transpose it in another key.
Another example.
You preserve the harmonic structure, but you move it up a whole key.
It's another example. Maybe we should use music to like dialogue on math terms sometimes, because honestly, every math concept seems to have a musical equivalent.
I do.
It's like this, right? That means shut the fuck up, but it's also a music conductor's way of closing the music.
So check it out. Music is what math sounds like.
Yes, that has been proven by science on black holes, by the way.
So anyhow, yeah, you can transpose your data expertise over into the world of actuarial sciences, and where I can sell the fuck out of our method and how we know how to do it, and have developed, I might say so myself, a pretty good understanding of some of the technical pieces. For example, we use a 25-minute commuting threshold based on that's inversely correlated from
you are so close. Population?
Population weighted centroid.
There it is.
So we use a 25-minute commuting threshold based on the population weighted centroid, which simply means you take a geographic unit, you find where the concentration of most people are, and then you draw a radius around it based on where you can travel in 25 minutes. And that's our...
Nailed it.
Yeah, right. So
nailed the landing.
So stuck it. Had a little assist, but anyway. So cool. I can say that shit eloquently and get someone whatever.
Yep.
But you actually develop the math that allows us to even know that we can do that, and so you can then take that specificity of knowledge and apply it in our models, because insurance is a very financial modeling intensive business, you can apply, you can just, the technical proficiency is a great advantage on many fronts.
Yes, however, I have a bit of an insecurity, to be transparent about it, that 85% of people don't ever or will never want to know that level of detail. And that's probably an underestimation. It's probably more like 90% of people will never peel back the hood and understand how the engine works, right? The remaining 10% of people, about 8% of those people, that answer is a sufficient answer. There's really only a narrow audience of people that need to understand even or have a follow-up question in regards to what you just said. And so I get a little insecure because the audience is a lot smaller. The expertise is very nuanced. And then even then, I probably only need to ask or respond to one or two levels deeper of information there. When in reality, I'm holding a lot of power in AI. I can create outcomes that are unexpected, unanticipated, potentially really great, or potentially really disastrous. And I struggle with that, knowing the weight of that responsibility and knowing very few people will ever think about those questions in that depth.
The cool thing about that, though, and I can see how that is scary, because you're so advanced in a field that is exponentially powerful, and very few people are able to meet you at that level and even be able to probe you and check your shit. And
I would love more friends,
and so on.
And not even just critiques, but like other people who could contribute and who could make that an even better experience.
So now, get this. The interesting thing that is back to the 95-5 rule. So 95% won't know. 5% may not have some idea. Perhaps in this case, 1% will no. But we only need that 1% to no, because these are the soft banks of the world. This is like Masayoshi Son and his team, Marcelo McClure. Shout out to you guys. They launched an opportunity fund.
In the notes.
They launched an opportunity fund. By the way, I think it's like, it is their diversity fund. I don't really want their diversity fund dollars. I want their real fund dollars. However, it's still SoftBank, and we do have a high quality in over there through my boy at Credit Karma, Ruben Harris, whom successfully raised a $10 million Series A round. Shout out to you. That was some months ago, but still shout out. And point is that the few people that can relate and maybe do know are probably like super influential and powerful.
For
and so on.
sure. We had the privilege of going to an event, the Time 100 event, which is a collection of like the most influential people according to Time over the previous year.
Crazy that we were there. We were not awarded, insane. But we were just there.
We were there. How we got there is a whole nother story, but we were in the room, and they literally closed the doors on like the 100 influential people, some sponsors, and us.
The most 100 influential people in the world, by the way.
Correct. The woman who's leading the like Myanmar revolution was there, and The Rock was there. And I'm not trying to like name drop or anything, but there was one person in the room.
Taylor Swift was being annoying, per usual.
Taylor Swift was there, and very annoying.
Jared Kushner.
Yeah. We can name drop a few more people. It was a wild event. It was a wild thing. It was a night that I will never forget.
But just quickly, so there was a moment where we were in line to go through the red carpet, which, yes, it's bizarre to be going through the red carpet.
There was a step and repeat. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was tapping Carey's like, oh, fuck. And she's like, what? I was like, that's Hassan Minaj.
Yeah.
And she was like, where? And I was like, 4 people that way. And she was like, oh, Martha Stewart's right in front of us. And I looked down because she's very short. I was like, oh, fuck. And then we turned around, and it was fucking Jimmy Fallon, and Carey lost. It was like, Jimmy Fallon or whatever. And I was like, Carey, be cool. And Jimmy Fallon went up to Hassan Minaj, and then Trevor Noah pulled up, and The Rock. And it was just like right here in a little room. And I tried, every fiber in me was like, for whatever reason, I wanted to just pull out my phone and be like, I have a video of you. So like that this happened. But I was like,
no, it was like, be cool.
Yeah.
Don't be all uncool.
Gail King came up right up to Carey, and Carey was like, Hi.
So, funny story about Gayle King was that she was the local television caster in Connecticut when I was a kid, and then she became friends with Oprah because Oprah was also into television newscasting, and they became best friends, and that's all documented. But thank you for that on audio while I was talking. But it was like meeting your local newscaster. I
No, it was cool.
fangirled Gayle King a little bit, and then that whole thing with Snoop Dogg happened and whatever. Okay, so that happened. But the point of telling this story was that there was
Right.
also some scientists and technologists
Right.
in the room, in addition to every major celebrity this side of the earth. So there was one gentleman there, and I knew who he was, and he was standing by himself, and he had zero people interested in talking to him because he is one of the most prolific AI inventors and AI investors. His name is Kai-Fu Lee, and he runs Sino Ventures in China to invest in Chinese AI. So this guy is legit. He invented a lot of the voice interaction with computers. So the fact that we were able to ask Siri for shit is Kai-Fu Lee. So anyways,
Oh my God.
of course, I'm fangirling hard. I'm like, holy shit, that's Kai-Fu Lee. Which, by the way, he's one of the most socially connected people on earth because he's in China. He's like 4 billion followers on WeChat.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you don't know him, but a lot of people know this guy, and he's standing alone in a community or in an event where arguably he's the most famous person, like more famous than The Rock.
Like, right. But of course,
Nuts.
it wasn't it nuts, by the way, how everyone just kept shouting out The Rock?
Yeah, The Rock
Like everyone
got a
who
lot
hit
of
everyone
cred.
who hit the stage was like, "Yo, it's a fantastic room, ladies and gentlemen. We have The Rock." And
It
it
was
was like,
weird. We were
okay.
sitting with, by the way, Trevor Noah and Julianne Moore at our table. It was a very weird event, but went to go speak to Kai-Fu Lee, and the first thing we discussed was AI and insurance, because of course I'm trying to pick his brain for any
What do you
know
say? Now,
thoughts.
like I wasn't even in insurance.
I
then.
know. I mean, you were involved in the conversation and you dipped because you were like, "This is getting way too technical, way too
It
fast."
got there real quick.
It did, because we understood each other, and it was like, okay, let me speak your language for like a hot minute. Like, this event is crazy, I know, but like, to meet you here is a great privilege. He actually wrote a book in which he said that people break into their VC firm and they had to like install security because there were far too many fans that were trying to get access to him. And here I
God.
am, right? It's fucking nuts. Anyways, I go up to speak to him and I talk to him about insurance because at the time there was a conversation about Tesla coming back into insurance, launching their own insurance product. Obviously, Warren Buffett is Geico and was his annual performance meeting had been recently, and we were chatting, and he said insurance is going to be the future of AI, and big companies like Amazon, Google cannot get into this space because of the limitations with regulation. So it is one of the last frontiers for big data that you can be relieved to know that Google and Facebook and some of the big incumbent data and AI companies will not and cannot get into quickly. So like, go
Whoa.
get it.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah.
The AI guy in the world, you somehow had the chance to speak to him one-on-one in this star-studded room, and he said, "This is the final frontier, and the existing big guys can't get after it. It's all yours."
Now, there are Chinese equivalents. There's some great big Chinese AI and technology insurance companies.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Penang is like one of the biggest insurance companies in the world,
Oh, wow.
and they're collecting a lot of data. So if I was to
God.
think about our competitors, I think the AI coming out of China vastly outpaces any technology that we'll be able to build, in part because they have mandated volume. Think about that. AI in a communist country, you can get whatever data and how much data you want without asking consumers for their permission. I mean, the pace at which AI accelerates in China is far outpacing the American ability simply because of our democracy. And so it's a
Wow.
real question, whether we compromise some of our democratic principles around data privacy and integrity and security and an informed consumer in order just to keep pace with the level of advancement that Chinese companies are able to make. So if I had to think about our competitor, I mean, any number of VCs is like, how you doing versus this bullshit tech company that's going to get acquired in 3 months in a fire sale? And I'm like, what we should really be worried about. And like, I thought about just like going to China and trying to learn, but it's completely different
Loop is
culture.
commissioning a trip to send your ass to China.
I gotta learn. Well, I
For
gotta
3
bring our
months.
head of data science and our data
Oh my
scientists
God,
who are
we should do
Chinese
that
with
for
me.
real, for real.
Yeah, I mean, their families are still there. We could go and stay with
Wow.
them. But the thing is that Chinese companies are just structurally different, and the philosophy around sharing information is different because
This is insane.
there's no such thing as stealing ideas. Like, there's no trademarking or
Right, right.
copywriting. And
You
so
don't have to
just
check the
rip
box
off
that says,
shit.
I agree to the terms of service.
Right, there is
It's
no
just like,
NDA.
you use this, I take your shit.
So it's a big risk to go there with even our
That's insane.
it's even a big risk to go there with our computers and access the internet because they could access our computers and
we
rip
ain't
off
going
their
with computers.
information.
We're
right?
getting
You
dummy
mean,
devices. It's
literally, you would have to get a cell phone for this occasion of traveling to China. So I've thought about it, but I think the risk at this point outweighs the potential reward. But I do keep an eye on Chinese AI and insurance companies because I do consider them our actual competitor in this space.
By the way, that like 13-minute snippet or whatever it was is by far the most interesting subject matter on the Co-CEO show thus far. You're only going to get this here, folks. High level, very riveting and fascinating conversation from practitioners building a billion-dollar business about like the geopolitical impacts on capitalism and AI and how it relates to VC and market opportunities and so on. Only going to get that here. I firmly believe that we will be backed by SoftBank. I think I might have said that on the last episode, but if I didn't, I firmly believe we will be backed by SoftBank.
I would love to make that the Easter egg of today's episode.
We already did it with but it was a little bit further in. But all right, fine. So just in the comments, type in SoftBank to let us know that you're this far in. But I truly, truly, honestly believe that we will, only because, SoftBank is not interested in, JH learning how to crack a fucking referral program. Right. Like,
Although that was an amazing piece of technology.
It's phenomenal virality mechanism by which we can grow. But whenever I had chills listening to you speak, because you were talking about that take over the world type shit.
Well,
And like, that is what I believe. And that's why I simply wanted a 4-letter brand name, Loop. Because that's the only thing that's simple about Loop is the name and the promise. But everything else behind the hood that we're building, I assure you, is fucking sophisticated and complex. Even our naming system for our content that we built ourselves, we have a content management system that we built, is hyper complex in the way that it feeds into our ad ops team and this hyper refined segmentation that we have and the incredible precision with which we are identifying geographic units of that we can target specific, geographic. I'm just like trying not to give too much away, but like we're targeting specific geographic units that have a high proportion of our target customer in there, systematically running through pieces of creative that cycling through our value propositions, mission, customer service, pricing, and so on, convenience, and then we're able to conduct some cohort analysis and track a particular cohort of leads that resonate with our product, that converted into quotes, that converted into binded insureds, that then download the application, that then hit the road and are driving, and we develop a risk profile of this particular insured relative to the risk around them, develop a much more refined and accurate price upon renewal. That's table stakes, folks. What we're talking about here is imagine when this shit is at scale.
Yeah, we built a data and technology company that right now sells insurance. And I think a lot of folks get concerned about like, you're going to collect data from me and what are you going to do with it? But I think that that's part of our promise as well, is that like we need a volume of data to correct some of the systems that have been treating people unfairly, and the numbers don't lie. So when we get a lot of data, we're able to do really powerful things for consumers as long as we continue to focus on building product and building service that meets the needs and the desires and demands of consumers.
Yeah. You know what else I tell people when they say, wow, you're going to collect my data? I say, bruh, you don't think your car is already collecting that data on you? The difference is they just don't give that shit back to you, and they don't give you anything for it.
I agree.
So, like, people, this was a naivete that I had. I had no idea that auto manufacturers are already collecting your telematics data. Like, we're signed up to God knows how many apps that are already dishing this data out. And I really don't believe that people are terribly concerned with privacy because, like, people are sharing everything about their day anyhow anyway. But it's just to me, it's a fascinating comment that people will make, because this is an opportunity to use the exchange of your data to in turn give that data back to you in transparent fashion through a sleek, sexy app, and give you better insurance rates. And that, I think, is that's a trade-off that I believe that our community certainly, but consumers more broadly, are willing to make.
Yeah, I think there's a dialogue to be had. Not will you share your data, but who do you share your data with? Who do you as a consumer enable to grow their business by providing your data as a resource? So I think a lot of people turned off Facebook when they heard how Facebook was using their data, right? People got sour about it. You can't rely on consumers' like willingness to provide data simply because they don't really care about their privacy. If you misuse it, they will leave.
It's truly insane. And now we've been running for, Mendy, can you check the screen to tell us how long we've been running?
We're 52.
52 minutes? Okay. 52 minutes is a great place to leave it. Folks, by the way, I could have kept going for another 30, but we do have a dinner coming up with, as you know, our reinsurance broker. Riveting conversation. There's a lot to cover here. We're going to be doing this on a weekly basis to the extent that we can. Last week we did miss it because we were traveling. Next week we will be on the road for our Texas Summer Takeover. I would love to do an episode of this on the road.
Cool.
It will not be in this setup, but we will find a nice place to do it, and we'll do it. And we can potentially even at that point loop in the rest of our team, whom will also be there. So we can do this, like, we could do a group version, like a loop team version with Ali Sahi and Jesus.
Oh, that's right. Our CTO will be joining us
so
as
on.
well.
So it's going to be
great.
really, really cool. We're going to be on the road. This is the experience of a lifetime, I must say. This feels like everything that I've ever done up until this point was simply preparation for this moment. That's how I feel. And every day I wake up, I'm incredibly energized. I can't wait to wake up. I literally wake up, and I'm like, I can't wait to wake up. It's insane. So no 2 days are the same at all. No. Every day is going by mad fast, though, at the same time, because there's a flurry of activity. But anyway, yeah, we're just going to be bringing you our real-time truth and hoping to share. A lot of this is probably selfishly just a way for us to process our thoughts because we hardly have the time to do so, but also selflessly a place where you can pick up kernels of insight that from folks that are on the road doing it. So alongside you. So there you have it, folks. The Co-CEO show. I'm not sure if we'll stick with this name, but I don't mind it. The Co-CEO podcast.
I like it. I think it answers a question of like what it's like to have co-CEOs.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
This is it. This is real life.
Like it or fucking not. All right, folks. Thank you all. And we'll see you next time.